In today's video, I'm going to get a tiny bit philosophical with you and talk about two competing ways of taking over existing PPC campaigns, the Sledge Hammer and the Scalpel. Hey, I'm Daryl from Big Flare. In my 18-year career, I think I lost count of the number of times I have taken over PPC campaigns when it got into the hundreds of times. If you're about to have a new person start managing your PPC campaigns, or if you are that new person about to manage someone else's campaigns, you need to be familiar with the concept I will teach you today. You need to know the pros and cons of each option and what to expect in each case. If you don't understand this, you might get a nasty shock that could sour the relationship when you start with a new PPC person. Conversely, if you do know this concept, starting with a new PPC provider is going to be a more seamless, less anxiety-ridden affair. A quick shout out to my friend Mike Rhodes from Agency Savvy. I don't know if he coined these terms, but I certainly heard them from him first, and they perfectly articulated this concept that I've always known to be true. Oftentimes, when you hire someone to take over your PPC campaign, they will come in and see that your account, as it stands right now, is so far away from what they think is the best setup given your advertising goals. They might see that all of your campaigns basically need to be reworked and sharpish if you want to get your results up. And they might decide that given how much change needs to happen, the best way to go about it is to build completely new campaigns from the ground up and then turn off the old campaigns and then launch all the new ones. This approach is called the Sledge Hammer. It's called that because, like with the Sledge Hammer, what you are essentially doing is smashing down the old stuff really quickly, then rebuilding from the ground up. The big pro of this method is that if your goal is to get from old, messy campaigns to shiny, new, best practice campaigns as quickly as possible, then this is the fastest way to get there. Oftentimes, if you look at the long-term results, say over the next 6+ months, this is also often, but not always, the way that gets you the best overall performance. If the old campaigns are a mess, and leaving money on the table, then getting to the new campaign setup as quickly as possible could be a good idea if you don't mind risking the fact that performance may dip in the short term when the new campaigns are launched. As for the main cons of the Sledge Hammer, the clue is in that last sentence I just said. You're going to be at risk of performance going down initially before it goes back up. In fact, it's more than a risk. It's often a given. Performance will go down at first if you launch new campaigns and shut off old campaigns suddenly. The reason is that your new campaigns will need to have data built up and bids optimized, which takes time before they reach peak performance. And add on to that the fact that Google Quality Score depends in part on historical performance, and new campaigns have no historical performance, and you get a bit of a double whammy effect. By the way, if you're enjoying my stuff, then please click the like button below. It really helps me out and is much appreciated. Now, as I mentioned, I do believe that often the Sledge Hammer results in better results if you can zoom out and look at the next 6+ months. That's because while the results may dip initially, you get to the maximum level of performance faster. But it's incredibly disheartening to see results go down at the beginning of a new relationship, even when you know that the results dip is coming because you chose the Sledge Hammer. It's even worse when you don't know that dip is coming. And that is why you and your PPC provider need to be extra special clear and agreed on using the Sledge Hammer if that is the approach you wish to take. You need to be agreed you're going to use it. And you need to know to expect an initial dip in performance of maybe 1 to 4 weeks, depending on circumstances. The opposite approach is to not smash down the existing campaigns. Instead, you take what you already have and work to improve upon it incrementally over time. This is called the Scalpel because it's like you are coming in and making small and precise adjustments. One way you can do this is to still build out new campaigns, but keep the old campaigns running too. Decrease the budgets a little bit on the old campaigns and give that budget to the new campaigns to get them started. This way, only a small proportion of the overall budget is going on the new risky campaigns. This offsets the downtrend in results a little bit. Another thing you can do, which is what I prefer to do, is to just work on improving the existing campaigns. No need to build totally new campaigns right away. Instead, work inside what you already have and do the needed tweaks to ensure that the results only ever go up and they never dip down. Of course, the big pro of this method is that the results, in theory, never go down. From my perspective of working with clients, this is exactly what you want at the beginning of a new relationship. Much like in romance, the beginning of a new business relationship is an important time where first impressions count for a lot. If their first impression of you was they signed up and results immediately went down, then I worry over the long-term health of that relationship. On the other hand, if they signed up with you and then results just went straight up, that's a great first impression and counts a lot towards creating a happy, long-term relationship. Maybe you guys will live happily ever after. You can probably guess that the main con of the Scalpel is that it takes longer to get to an optimal campaign structure and setup. Also, working within someone else's campaign structure could be confusing for you, especially if you have more than one person working on the same account. There's a risk of that confusion leading to mistakes being made. Furthermore, you may have processes, scripts, and automations set up that require things to be set up a certain way. For example, my script that automates the seed mining method for you requires campaigns to be named a specific way. Using the Scalpel may prohibit you from running some of these systems. By the way, if you'd like to check out the seed mining method and get a free copy of my Google Ads script that automates it, check out my videos on YouTube about the seed mining method. Another potential con is that although you never get that dip in results at the start, because it takes longer to reach peak performance, you may get comparatively lower results when compared to the Sledge Hammer, if you zoom out and look at 6+ months at a time. So what do I recommend? Well, for me, I always default to the Scalpel, unless otherwise asked to, ideally in writing. That's because I love forging long-term business relationships, and creating an awesome first impression is a superb thing to do if that's what you want. While I always default to the Scalpel unless otherwise told, I do think it's important to, when appropriate, teach clients that I work with about the Sledge Hammer and the Scalpel and get their input. Usually clients will agree with me and say that they too want the Scalpel. Very occasionally though, clients will say to me, hey, I definitely want the Sledge Hammer. If they say that to me, I'll get them to double confirm that in writing. I'll tell them that the results are likely to initially go down before they go up, and they must be okay with that. If after all my caveats and explaining, they're still definitely wanting to go ahead, then all right, it's off to the races. I hope you got something out of value on this rather more philosophical video that I've done for you today. If you like this kind of content and the things I'm doing here on YouTube, please do make sure to like, comment, and subscribe because that really helps me out. All right guys, until next time, always be testing. The results, in theory, scroll it. After all, that sounds weird. After, you guys will live happily ever after.